Sunday night football primetime game. The San Francisco 49ers are hosting Austin and I's Green Bay Packers in a 49-point over-under. San Francisco favored by 3 points, which is usually what you do in an even matchup to the home team.
Right here.
We'll start with the Green Bay side of the ball, but before we do, we want to urge you to like and subscribe right here on the YouTube channel and help us grow this channel. We are trying to get over 2,000 subs, so help us do that and continue to march on and grow Whisper Nation. Austin, we got to start with your boy who just gave you such a great Monday night. Aaron Rodgers just did it for you in multiple leagues, made you point leader in multiple leagues. Is he looking to stay hot? He's had some bad games before against San Fran, but this is a decent over-under. He should be ready to keep that narrative going.
You know, I think it's really up to him. It really is. It's one of those situations that analytics don't really apply to me in this kind of situation, you know, because it's the metaphor that keeps coming to mind is a storm and a set of levees there to brace the storm, right? And you might have a really good set of levees built into your city to handle a flood. And San Francisco, I would say, has a pretty good levee there at the 8th overall pass defense. But the size of the storm coming to San Francisco depends on Aaron Rodgers. And if your storm is larger than the levee set to protect, the levees break and it floods the city. And it doesn't matter how tall those levees are if the storm is greater. Aaron Rodgers has that ability to bring the storm. Will we get it out of him? We saw it a bit in week 2. We did not see it in week 1. The good thing, I believe, looking though at week 2's Monday Night Football performance, is if there was any weight in this idea that Aaron Rodgers is so fed up with the Green Bay Packers organization that he wants to sabotage it in some way, we saw that was not the case. He wants to win. He wants to perform well. He wants to show up. He wants to do the little ice vein thing in his arm. We saw him want to get 5 touchdowns, and we saw how bad he wanted that at the end of the game. He's playing for personal points as well as wins. It's up to him.
Also, we've talked about it now a couple of times. We talked about it live on the Monday night show, and make sure you're turned into this Monday Night Football live show as well. But also, we talked about him threading the needle on that Tonyan touchdown where he didn't really need to because he had the crosser wide open, and you're like, what the heck? Why would you do that? Because he wants to continue to score touchdowns. And maybe to Johnny's point, he's hearing Johnny talk about Brady always wanting to throw touchdowns and break records. Now, Rodgers, get a little bit of that juice in your veins. Speaking of ice in the veins. But Aaron wasn't the only Aaron that got it done for you on Monday night. Aaron Jones had a monster week. He was the week winner there. If you took out Derrick Henry, let's say. After GameScript got the best of Jones in week 1, Jones went nuclear for a 40-burger in PPR, 4 total touchdowns, just to show the kind of upside he will continue to have in this offense. 23 touches in week 1 was much more in line with his 18 touch per game average that he had in 2020. If you look at A.J. Dillon, his counterpart, only 5 touches. But that's about half as much. Jamal was averaging about 10 touches per game last year in this offense. So we'll see if that upticks. We're going to have to watch and see. But I just want to talk about Aaron Jones. Obviously, you're starting him. And here's a little bit of hope for you, a little optimism. Look for Green Bay to get Jones involved in the passing game. Only Seattle has allowed more receiving yards to running backs than San Francisco. So I think, as we know, Aaron Jones, a proficient receiver, this could be a real good spot for him in this offense to get going through Aaron Jones. And that has to have me ask you, Johnny, you asked it on the Monday Night Live if we should be concerned about Davonte Adams, and then he caught a monster bomb right after that, which I had to love just because you were calling out my boy. But yeah, there is some touchdown. Yeah, but then there is some touchdown regression we got to talk about a little bit with Davonte, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some concern. Like I was trying to point out, I mean, right after that, I kind of jinxed it, but then after that, he just cooled off. There is some panicking going on with Davonte Adams, especially after Aaron Rodgers posts, the last dance with photo with Davonte Adams. You were expecting, that touchdown regression not to happen. You were like, oh, this is fully thumbs up once again for the Davonte Adams and Aaron Rodgers show. Yeah, exactly. But that has not happened so far this season. I do want to say, if you can trade for Davonte Adams, you better do it now. This is going to be the last time, because Davonte Adams straight up has, where we talked about, Aaron Rodgers potentially not really having the 49ers number. Well, I'll tell you who definitely has it on speed dial as the number 1 button, and that is Davonte Adams. Last 4 games against San Fran, he not only showed up, but he showed out and embarrassed these boys. 10 catches for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. 7 for 43 and a touchdown, 9 for 138 yards, 10 for 173 yards and a touchdown, dating back to 2018. You get him in your lineup. You have full confidence. If you don't have him right now, go and try to trade for him. It would be a no-brainer for you to get him in your lineup this week. I do want to touch on MVS real quick. It is what is interesting. I don't know that I'm necessarily playing him in this game. If you need a what the heck flex, as we like to say, MVS could be a really nice play, but it also could lead you to a 0. But I do want to mention, like, the single largest difference in league air yards compared to actual receiving yards, that's MVS with 214 to just 17. So Aaron Rodgers is looking for him quite often, actually. They just haven't been able to sync up, which is kind of the issue, but it's somewhat been about timing, not necessarily that MVS is dropping the catches like he did last year. So I do think that there is what the heck flex in MVS. And then I just want to, Bobby T, I pity you, fool. You're going to get him in your lineup again this week. San Fran giving up 10.5 fantasy points to opposing tight ends. You love that. And Bobby T is always just a threat to score a touchdown. You saw the trust there. You saw the trust between Aaron Rodgers and Bobby T on a Monday night. I don't know what else you need. He was being double teamed, and Aaron Rodgers said, I don't even care. I got a wide open underneath, wide open screaming. Probably Allen Lazard could have scored a touchdown. Who knows? We don't know. But Aaron Rodgers knew that Bobby T was going to pity two fools at the cornerback position and score a touchdown. So get him once again in your lineup.
I just got to say, the thought that came to mind when you were explaining so eloquently that Davonte Adams has the San Francisco 49ers #1 on speed dial. I just saw like a Gridiron Gang cartoon where Davonte Adams just sitting on his couch, picks up the phone, calls the San Francisco 49ers. Somebody at the ticket booth picks up the phone. All of a sudden, Davonte Adams' voice is heard on the PA system throughout the entire stadium and just goes, "Sup, it's Davonte." And everybody starts freaking out. All of a sudden, people are lighting the booths on fire. The lawnmowers, they're taking it over the whole grass and everything, and the whole place just burns down because Davonte Adams pressed 1 on the speed dial. I hope you're right, man.
Oh, it's going to happen.
We could definitely see it because this San Fran team honestly isn't as explosive as we've seen in the past, at least to start this year. When we look at the San Fran side of the ball, the motor that turns that offense is the running back position. And we have so many names running through that backfield right now, Austin. Is it anyone we can trust here? Because this should be a good matchup against Green Bay on Sunday Night Football.
I'm not trying to be cute, and I prepared for the show. I just don't have a great answer to give you. We got Jermichael Hasty dealing with a high ankle sprain. We got Elijah out of Thursday's practice. We got Trey Sermon, who is concussed. Trenton Cannon is looking like an interesting option who was picked up a couple of weeks ago. He might be the healthiest. Sermon could come back from this concussion. Regardless, they're going to be running out a lot of backs. They're all pretty much banged up or have less than 2 weeks on the roster. I'm just going to avoid this entire backfield situation right now until I just get a little bit of clarity. There's too many injuries that we don't know enough about, with too many backs who we haven't seen play to really make to provide a take with any weight.
I think it's tough too, because this game's the Sunday Night Football game. So can you really even make a decision if all these guys are banged up going in? We'd have to see more practice involvement on Friday and Saturday to really get your juices going on this. So for me, I kind of side with Austin here. I think only in the desperate of situations would you maybe roll out one of these backs. And I think that's the good way to put it. Desperate is what Kittle owners are getting right now, Johnny, because we have just not seen that elite tight end production from your man, George Kittle. So how concerned are we?
We're really concerned. I continue to hit this panic button until everyone hears me and then tries to get out from under George Kittle. I do think this is going to be that game in which he really goes off, and then you can try to trade him. The problem is he is a great tight end. His skill level has not depleted. He is still looking as good as he's ever looked. The problem is they are asking him to block a lot more this year than they have in the past. And could that be? And is it most likely because they have these pass catchers now that they trust a little bit more, and they don't need to rely on Kittle as much, and they would rather have him block and try to hold up so Jimmy G or Lance doesn't get injured? That is a potential to look out for. But again, Green Bay Packers giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing tight ends right now. So you're definitely going to get him in your lineup. And then I would potentially try to look to try to get out if you can from him, because his name will draw a lot. But we've talked about it a couple of times, maybe potentially trying to go to the Hawk owner or roster and try to do a Kittle for a Hawkinson deal, but that's a different kind of show. I'm just saying Kittle is a concern moving forward.
Yeah, Johnny, you talked about the other pass catchers here, so we'll dive into Deebo Samuel a little bit, because right now, guys, he's the wide receiver 3 in standard and PPR. He leads the NFL in receiving yards. As much as we don't think this will last, we have that feeling, we have to remember that Deebo was the apple of Jimmy G's eye long before Aiyuk was even drafted, or at least 1 year, maybe not that long. Brandon Aiyuk, only 1 catch in 2 games. So everybody's asking, like, can we get eyes on Aiyuk right now? What's going on? A few factors are working against Aiyuk, and even to Johnny's point, maybe Kittle. The aforementioned with chemistry between Deebo and Jimmy G is there. So for Aiyuk's sake, that's something he's battling right now. He also has to hit more than 55% snap share, which he hasn't done yet this year. So he's not even getting in on a lot of the snaps that you like to see for a dominant wide receiver. And then this is the big one for me. San Francisco's bottom 5 in pass attempts, guys. There's not a lot of volume in this offense. So if it's going to go to one guy and the target tree is already narrow, then there's not going to be a lot for the peripheral pieces to pick up. And that's what I think is going on with Kittle and, more importantly, Aiyuk here. Green Bay's still a tough matchup for wide receivers, but I'm really high on Deebo's usage and that role and his chemistry with Jimmy G. I'd be rolling out Deebo fine as a wide receiver 2-3 flex option anywhere in that range. I think he needs to be in your lineup in this one because he's probably going to be the main way they move the ball, especially with all the banged up running backs. And I just think he's the one I trust right now.
Let me ask you this. Do you expect, and this would really change the answer, do you expect Jair to be on Deebo because he has had these blow-up games, or do you expect them to be more on Aiyuk because Aiyuk is considered the X wide receiver, the alpha wide receiver? Because if that's the case, if Jair is on Deebo, it's going to be a long day.
Well, the problem is that Deebo gets moved along a lot in the slot and out of the backfield too. So they'll find creative ways to move Deebo around. It won't really, I mean, he's definitely going to get matched up against Jair at some time, but I think they're going to do enough. Shanahan's going to do enough to get Deebo because he's been the best player for them. They're going to do enough to get him going and keep him hot in this game. And I would just roll in the fire a little bit with Deebo here. But we would like Whisper Nation to roll in those likes and subscribes on the channel here. Help us get that YouTube channel up over 2,000 and help us grow Whisper Nation even further. Help us out, guys.
Right here.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. If you still have a lot to say about fantasy football, maybe you want to give Johnny a little bit of crap for his take today, then go on over to our Discord channel and join the conversation there. Click the link in the description below. And if you still want more content, check out one of these videos. Homie, don't you hear the whispers?